Parshas Bo, the fourth Aliyah, the Aliyah of Revi. The Aliyah of Revi is somewhat disruptive in the flow of narrative that we have encountered throughout Parshas Bo. Because all of a sudden, the Aliyah of Revi, we encounter a mitzvah. And that mitzvah is the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh, the mitzvah to sanctify the new moon, the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. The renewal, the ischadshus that comes from essentially declaring this to be a new month. And it's a fascinating mitzvah, which if we remember all the way back when we were learning Parshas Bereshis, in the very first pasuk in the Torah, Rashi asked, why do we need all these parshios? Why do we need all of Sefer Bereshis and the initial parshios of Shemos? We should start the Torah from Revi'i of Parshas Bo. This is a haschala of the Torah, potential haschala of the Torah. We should start the Torah with HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, since it represents the mitzvos of the Torah, which is the essential purpose of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us. And it also represents the first mitzvah that we're given as a nation, first mitzvah we're given as a Jewish people. It's fascinating that Moshe Rabbeinu actually struggled with the halachic details and contours of this mitzvah, to the point that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to take Moshe Rabbeinu outside and had to point and show Moshe Rabbeinu, Kazeh, this is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Kazeh, this is what a new moon looks like. Mefarshim all ask, how complicated is a new moon? How many of us, we step outside, Kiddush Levana, we mevarech the moon. How complicated is it to look up at the sky and see a new moon? There are many different interpretations. Some suggest that Kiddush HaChodesh is really about what the new moon looks like in Eretz Yisrael, and they were in Mitzrayim, all sorts of different interpretations. The Das HaKeinim shares such a beautiful idea. The Das HaKeinim writes, I'll tell you what Moshe Rabbeinu was struggling with. He was struggling with the fact when you see a sliver of moon in the sky against the backdrop of the darkness of Egypt, you know what's ambiguous? What's ambiguous is that the final sliver of the waning light of the moon of the previous month? Or is it the initial rays of light and illumination that are ultimately going to lead to the light of the new month? What are you looking at? Are you looking at the end of the previous month and basically the descension into darkness? Or are you looking at the anticipatory illumination that's going to ultimately bring us the full moon and all of its brightness? That's what Moshe couldn't figure out. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to show him that it all depended on the direction of that sliver of the moon. When it's pointing in one direction, when the crescent is pointing in one direction, you know that it's the end of the previous month. But when it's pointing in a different direction, you know that it's the beginning of the new month. And this had to do so much with the optimism and hope that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was trying to instill within the Jewish people in the context of Yetzias Mitzrayim, trying to show them that all throughout Galus, when we are in the abyss of exile, when we're in the darkness of Mitzrayim, and we see a little bit of light, we see an increase in Torah being learned, we see a new leader come upon the landscape of Jewish communal life, we see institutions being built, we see a little sliver of hope, a little sliver, the ability to discern between when those slivers are indications of waning influence, power, and success, and when we can relate to them as an anticipation of something hopeful, something looking into the future. That's what he was trying to instill within Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe Rabbeinu should show the Jewish people, this is not, this little light, this little burst of hope you're experiencing at this moment, this is not something that's closing whatever opportunity you had before. This is opening a whole new world, the world of redemption, the world of Geula.